What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Matt Tardio, and you're watching the Speak the Truth podcast. Today, we're going to be going over the war inside of the Middle East and what's happening inside of Israel and Gaza. I think we got a little bit of an update so we can tell you a little bit more what the heck's going on over there. Dish put this nice little fancy video up on the screen for you. Check this out. You guys want to see some Hamas terrorists get taken down? Check this out. Ready? Go. Yeah, look at him go. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I know I did when I first watched this video. This is pretty cool. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of update right here and what's going on and where it's at. But if you take a look at them, like getting this guy out, number one, he is a major Hamas hole, like absolute Hamas hole. And they managed to like get his butt down and on the ground. That was pretty cool. And additionally, it looked like, I can't tell if this guy ended up getting injured or shot. They said that the leader that they ended up capturing. You see this guy, how it's hard to tell if he fell down or if somebody popped him. I don't see anybody pulling around, so I couldn't tell you. But it looks like this guy over here getting in his car was a little bit caught off surprise when the Israelis decided to show up and freaking kick him like right in his teeth and take him into custody. Scott Bevins has been a member of 14 flipping months. Dude, I love that. That's absolutely insane. Stream, we're not going to play this game again. We're not going to do it tonight. No, sir. We played this game with you this morning, but we sure aren't going to do that today. I promise you that. No, 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 no. VPN. You stop being bad. Hold on. Oh, man. And we got Orderly Chaos coming in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Appreciate you there, brother. Great. All right, so let's get that up and off the screen. Let's talk about what you were witnessing and where it came from. So what you guys were actually witnessing, all right, it was the Gideon's unit inside of Nablus, and they ended up taking out the commander of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade that was inside the city, and clearly they ended up taking out another butthead along the way alongside with them. The guy over there in the back, he wasn't doing too good. Let's talk about Iran for a hot minute before we get in there, because Trump actually had some words about Iran. Obviously, coming up on Saturday is going to be their peace agreement / peace talk, I guess. Well, nuclear disarmament, I think, is what we know from now on. And Trump came out with some pretty hard words towards Iran. And truthfully, his statements have been working on China, so maybe they'll work on Iran as well.
For them. What specifically?
Well, they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Did you mean military action, though, if they don't agree?
Oh, if necessary? Absolutely. Yeah.
And do you have
a deadline for these talks?
I do.
And
You're talking about with Iran?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Do you want something definitive this weekend, or do you see this as the start of a process?
It's a start.
Do you have a timeline?
We have a little time, but we don't have much time.
who is it starting?
Because we're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon.
Is it
Can't let them have a
going to
nuclear
be there, Mr. President?
And we're going to let them thrive. I want them to thrive. I want Iran to be great. The only thing they can't have is a nuclear weapon. They understand that. You know, the people are so incredible in Iran, and they're so smart. They're very smart people. But, you know, they're in a rough situation, rough regime. But they understand, and the leaders understand. And I'm not asking for much. I don't. They can't have a nuclear weapon, and I've said that. And I was a little bit surprised because when the election was rigged, I figured they'd get the weapon because with me they were broke. They were broke. They had no money because of the sanctions. Nobody could buy oil.
This was earlier.
We did that to Venezuela just recently, and we'll do it to other countries if we have to. I want to see Russia and Ukraine make a deal. They got to make a deal. When schools get blown up and bad things happen, like I'm hearing about, it's no good. I hope we're going to make a deal with Russia and Ukraine. But with Iran, yeah, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that. He'll be the leader of that. But nobody leads us. We do what we want to do.
So the key part here in everything that he was just saying and how it had to go into Iran was making sure that they are not allowed to have nuclear weapons. Now, that is going to be the disarmament of Iran. And we heard from Netanyahu earlier this week and what he said, how that's supposed to go down, which is going to be the United States actually goes in and dismembers or blows up, was his exact translation of the words from what he was speaking, blows up their freaking nuclear production facilities, nuke sites, all the different stuff with the uranium. And if they don't agree to do it, here's the next key part, and I'm pretty sure Trump's going to say it right here. If not, it's going to be in the very next clip. D-Rock says, hey, Matt, keep up the good work. Check your DMs. I sent you something kind of interesting, not a dick pic. Appreciate that. I don't like those.
When would the talks need to conclude before you might do military?
I can't really be specific, but you know, when you start talks, you know if they're going along well or not. And I would say the conclusion would be when I think they're not going along well. So that's just a feeling.
Mr. President, on the subject of U.S. troops stationed in Europe, do you have any plans to reduce the number of U.S. troops in Europe or in other NATO countries?
Yeah, so what Trump basically just said is these talks will conclude if he feels that they're not going well. They asked about the strike plans, and he starts saying that they don't have a really defined timeline when it comes down to them, but it has to be soon. And it has to be soon because, like, Iran's got freaking nukes, man. I think that we made that pretty dang clear over inside the Senate and everything the other day. So I have no doubt that he's going to end up getting freaking smashed when it comes down to that.
But with Iran, yeah, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that. He'll be the leader of that. But nobody leads us. We do what we want to do.
Run out on the talks.
So basically he's saying that, one, Israel is not going to be leading the United States when it goes down to like bombing the crap out of Iran, that the U.S. is going to lead that. And he quite literally said, we do what we want to do. So the U.S. is going to make their own freaking mind up when it comes to whether or not we bomb the crap out of them. Danny Golan says, hey, Matt, DM'd you a few days ago about some info about Israel. Thanks for all that you do. Danny, I'm going to most definitely have to go over there and take a look at it. Rustinator says, Matt, I got booked for a hair show in May. That's awesome, Rustinator. I'm going to have to talk to you offline, though, bud, about some stuff that I have going on. All right. Okay. So yeah, Macron, dude, we got to talk about this guy for a hot sec because he's done pissed off the whole freaking, well, I don't know if he pissed off the world. I think he tried to appease the world, but personally, he kind of pissed me off today. He said, we will recognize the Palestinian state and we're moving towards it in the next couple months. Now, he also had this statement to say earlier today, and I'm just going to put it up. All right. He literally put this statement out on his own accord. I'm going to put this up. I'm going to let this play. All right. And what he's talking about is Gaza, Palestine, freaking Israel, and how he thinks that chief needs to be appeased. For those that don't know, he's been over meddling around the Middle East for the last couple of days and has been kind of responsible for a lot of the BS that's taking place over there when it comes down to pushing for another peace talk and another peace deal. He's like leading it up between the king over inside of Jordan and the freaking Egyptian president. But listen to what this knucklehead has to say. And thank you, Don Reed, for coming in gifting out 1010 Speak the Truth membership.
La réalité, c'est que vous avez 2 millions de personnes qui sont enfermées. 2 millions. Après des mois et des mois de bombardement d'une guerre terrible, des dizaines de milliers de personnes ont perdu la vie. Vous avez des dizaines de milliers d'enfants qui sont mutilés sans famille. C'est ça dont on parle quand on parle de Gaza. C'est pas d'un projet immobilier. Et ce qu'on a vécu ce matin...
I don't know where he gets the figure tens of thousands of children without their families, seeing how allegedly like 2/3 of the people that have died have all been children. So maybe 1/3 of the people there are responsible for like tens of thousands of children, which would be absolutely freaking nuts. But I highly doubt it.
Parce que vous étiez avec moi, ce sont des femmes, des enfants qui ont connu le drame et dont je ne sais pas comment ces enfants grandiront. Vous imaginez une seule seconde ce qu'ils ont déjà vécu. Vous voyez le niveau parfois de dureté, de violence qu'il peut y avoir quand on n'a vécu que les bombardements, l'atrocité. Mais tous ont dit une chose. Dès que je suis sur pied, je veux retourner à Gaza. Parce que
And he says, as soon as I can walk, I want to return to Gaza. He's talking about the people that he was visiting over in the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt.
Ce sont eux-mêmes les enfants, les petits-enfants de femmes et d'hommes qui ont tout perdu pour rester à Gaza et qui avaient parfois été poussés d'autres territoires. Et c'est cela. Et on ne peut pas effacer et l'histoire et la géographie, parce que si c'était aussi simple qu'un projet immobilier et que l'acquisition de places dans un programme d'immeubles, il n'y aurait jamais eu de guerre. Et donc, nous en sommes là et on doit entendre cela. Et on doit entendre deux choses qui sont essentielles pour qu'il y ait la paix dans la région. Le droit légitime du peuple palestinien à disposer d'un État, d'un territoire et de vivre en paix. Et le droit légitime du peuple israélien à voir son État, Israël, à ce qu'il soit reconnu par tous ses voisins aussi, et à ce qu'il vive en paix et en sécurité. Et la négation de l'un ou de l'autre suffit à fragiliser toute la région. La réalité,
well, as he's sitting there with like that little frickin' like Egyptian fly buzzing around in his hair, and he just decides to mention at the very, very end, after getting a bunch of facts wrong, that that both sides have to recognize that each other are a legitimate state and entity. It's kind of weird to me that the one side side of this fight that he sat there advocating for pretty much the entire time, whining and crying about their children and their mothers and their fathers, are the ones that are directly responsible for the conflict that started the whole dang thing, because they refuse to recognize Israel as an actual freaking state. They don't. And that's why the whole thing started. And so it's funny to me that this guy wants to sit up here like some sort of a pompous asshole and pretend like he knows what the right thing to do is and what the legitimate answer is. And he doesn't even know what the hell the freaking gripe was with the Palestinians in the first place. He's too busy thinking it's about oppression or something else. Now, the Houthis over inside of Yemen, we're going to talk about them for a hot minute, because I said last night, I don't think any of the B-2s actually got put in action. And I got a, what do you want to call it? It's not a schematic, whatever. I got something coming up here to show you guys something about like the level of airstrikes and everything that's going over there. But this sucker ended up falling up over, originally it was reported to have fallen down in Saudi Arabia. Now this is being reported as a Houthi-fired ballistic missile that actually fell short and fired down and landed over somewhere inside of frickin' Yemen earlier today, or late last night, I guess, if you're kind of like waking up over there on that side of the frickin' world right now. Yeah, they fired it. Thing looks like absolute frickin' balls and is just kind of laying there. No wonder that thing fell from the sky. That thing is constructed from, it looks like, a bunch of tuna cans that were all melted together and then poured into a frickin' mold. But that's what they've been shooting, and that's why they haven't gone. So everybody fear the Houthis because they have crazy-ass things like that. Meanwhile, U.S. hardware. You guys want to check something cool out? Look, I ended up finding the USS Harry Truman that's offloading over in the Red Sea. And what you're going to be looking at over here on your screen is actually the flight deck. Check this out. This is the flight deck of the Harry Truman launching aircraft. Like, how flipping cool is that? Like, why does that sound like a car door is open?
Request that. Yep. Zulu mod, and let's push 81754.
33 knots high. All right, bye. 33 knots. 33 knots headwind. We're gonna have to come right a bit.
Come right steer course 155. Come right steer course 155 high, sir. Use the 1.5 degree rudder to maintain course. Use the 1.5 degree rudder to maintain course.
Getting it.
On that full indicate 90 RPM.
Yep. Yep, you got the waiver.
Blue Dragon
Right,
coming in, giving out 10 Speak the Truth memberships. Appreciate you, brother. Look at him go.
Shift your rudder.
So yeah, while Houthi missiles are busy falling out of the sky, like we got the Harry Truman over there just rocking some freaking wild crap. Now, allegedly, this came out. I don't know where he ended up getting this from, and I didn't even go back and fact checking it. So I'm just gonna give you guys the source on this one because I wasn't able to see it. We got John Wilson coming in, gifting out 20. He says 4 people from a restaurant roughly an hour away from me are being charged for employing and paying illegal aliens in cash and housing those illegals. Lock them up. Hell yeah, John. Get them. Get them. Get them. Get them, buddy. Get them. Hey, who's going to work your farm fields? Okay, we're not all going to be picking cotton anymore. So, yeah, this comes from Preston Stewart, and he normally does good, reliable work. He says Israel is upset with the U.S. signal chat deal because they had a source on the ground assisting the U.S. with targeting. The Houthis just arrested an intelligence officer for providing information to the enemy. Now, what he's referring to when it comes down to the Houthis, like, arresting one of their intelligence officers is going to end up being, in my opinion, a guess. At best for them, unless they got a hold of like one of his cell phones and they were like digging through his messages and stuff and were able to see who he was texting. Or I think he actually got this right. He said, so either basically that's that and they got one of our sources off the street, or they're now digging, looking for sources. For those of you guys that don't know, a lot of those different things, like human intelligence plays a massive, massive role when it comes to targeting like VIPs or HVTs or whatever you want to call them. All right. So if the Houthis figured that out, which by the way, I don't think the signal chat would have exactly told the Houthis that's how we were getting the information. Like, no shit. How else were we going to get it? But, they are also saying that, and he's got a great assumption here, is that now the Houthis could actually be going into a panic, going around like digging for freaking moles within their organization, which would cause a lot of stuff. And I think maybe at the end of the day, what it's going to amount to is just a lot of distrust and maybe a little bit of freaking, how do I want to say this? A little bit of distrust and some confusion amongst the ranks that maybe it'll slow them down a little bit. Also, the, let's see here. the Yemeni journalist, whatever. Okay, so President of the Supreme Political Council and Private Security to the leader of the revolution, along with a senior Houthi intelligence officer, were allegedly injured in a recent airstrike. So how about them apples? We went over and took out Houthi POS, so that's really good. Now, let's take a look at this operational graphic, okay? This one, again, ended up getting provided by Intel Schizo. He does a really good job on this and putting it up. This is Red Sea crisis interceptions and strike as of 9 April 2025. That's freaking rad, man. I had no idea the amount of freaking crap that we ended up intercepting. Check this out. The United States, 473. Israel, 137. The Houthis, 19, France, 17, UK, 12, Greece, 11, India, 6, Germany, 3, and Italy, Macron, the guy that was up there whining and complaining about everything, clearly they did all the heavy lifting, intercepting 3 freaking things that ended up going. Now, out of all of the things that ended up like getting shot down or whatever that ended up going out, I'm sorry, these are all the strikes. Those numbers that I gave were the strikes, blah, blah, blah. Interceptions were 55 anti-ship ballistic missiles, 28 anti-ship cruise missiles, and then 50 land attack-based missiles. We got 7 boats, 562 drones, 50 unmanned surface vessels, which is basically like a drone boat. And I see one by FA-18, which I was unaware of any of that crap. We go down a little bit more. All of the combined strikes that we have going on, they're all the way down here of the different stuff that we took out and what we were going after. It looks like we did 10 surface-to-air missiles, 25 radar sites, and 26 unmanned surface vehicles. We have killed at least 200-plus Iranian-backed Houthi militants, actioned over 500 targets, and on and on and on and on and on. It is absolutely nuts, the amount of work that the freaking U.S. military has been putting in there. Macron is French. Yeah, Macron is French. He is the French president. Excuse me. I said Italy, didn't I? That's my bad. That's my bad. Yeah, Macron's French. I just associated Macron with Italy, didn't I? That's my bad. Extremely sorry. Just caught that myself. I misspoke. You speak a lot publicly, live all the time. You're going to make mistakes. He is French. He's not Italian. Sorry, the French took out 17. French conducted 17 airstrikes, okay? They clearly did all the heavy lifting with their 17 compared to our 473, so they have every right to freaking whine and complain, all right? Leave the French alone, all right? They're people too, all right? Except for Macron. He's an idiot. Now, as far as the tariff war goes, and I'm sure we're going to be jumping right back over to the Middle East because I have something else I'm going to be going over with you. Well, I don't know. I kind of want to go over the Middle East before I go over all this tariff BS. Because honestly, the tariffs, like, I don't want to say they bore me, but they kind of bore me. So let me go and pull this up because I had to do a little bit of deep dive today to figure out what the hell is going on over inside of the Gaza Strip. So I went ahead and I did another deep dive for you. If you guys want the information, you guys can actually head over to my Twitter account is where you're going to be able to find it. And you go to articles and you're going to see this one right here. It's going to have all the associated information that you're looking for up over the top of my X account under there. Incog Faraday came out and gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Greatly appreciate you, man. So here's the crazy thing. Now, all of this information ended up coming out of an article that ended up getting released by the Times of Israel. Well, not all of it, but some of it ended up getting pulled out here. It's titled, ended up coming out, I believe it was today. Yes, it was today. IDF advances in Gaza, expands buffer zone to pressure Hamas, but no fighting's taking place. No fighting's taking place, according to this article. And I would tend to agree with them. Right? And it quotes Defense Minister Katz and a couple other people as to what's taking place over inside of the Gaza Strip. Now, here's the deal. Let me put this graphic up here. Right now, you're looking at Rafah. This article announced that the IDF has Rafah completely contained. All right? The new corridor, which is up over here, and we'll call this the northern border of Rafah, allegedly is secured. And I showed a picture this morning of that border kind of being like locked down and what it looks like. They are digging in, and they're digging in hard on that border. Obviously, the frickin' Philadelphia corridor has been cut off, and they're establishing this new buffer zone up over there, frickin' down by the frickin' Karim Shalom crossing, right down here in like the southern portion of it. So what the hell are they doing? Why isn't there any fighting? So Israel still assesses that there is about 20,000 Hamas fighters left inside Gaza. I assess it a little bit lower based on some other assumptions, but I would assess it to be a little bit lower. I'll split the difference with them and go to 15,000. John Wilson coming in, gifting out 10 Speak the Truth memberships. Greatly appreciate you, brother. Now, that would mean that inside of Gaza, look at this. I did the freaking math. Inside of Gaza, if we're to go with Israel's numbers, it would be 140 Hamas fighters per square mile in Gaza. 140 plus per square mile inside of Gaza would be remaining. Now, if that is true and they're there, why haven't we seen an uptick in violence since Israel went in and started taking terrain? Well, that would account for a couple different things. Number one, Israel hasn't really done any major pushes into the city. I've seen a couple photographs of them operating more or less on the outskirts or like little outer areas, but that's probably more defensive in nature while they hold it down. But Defense Minister Katz ended up giving us some great information today inside of this article. Yeah, per square mile. Correct. That's a lot of freaking dudes in that tiny little strip, man. 140? Yeah. Where are they? I think a lot of them have defected, honestly. I think you're likely dealing with about 10,000, but even then you cut that down, you're still talking like 70 to 80 per square mile over inside of freaking Gaza. 17 per tent. Sure. Pick a number, throw it out there, right? 15 per freaking ambulance. I don't give a shit however you divvy it up. That's not an accurate stat. That's a joke, and I just made it up, okay? But either way, they're over there doing this crap right now, and so where are they? We know they're there. Now, some of them likely defected and worked their way back into the civilian population, so it's not going to be all of them. They're not all going to be hanging out, I don't think. But they're also waiting because they're low on supplies and equipment. Andreas says, not sure if you covered this, but IDF began construction of a new corridor called the Morag Corridor, cutting off Rafah from Khan Yunis. Yes, sir, I did. I just went over that was locked down, and it's denoted by this red line right up here, just north of Rafah. And I've actually got a picture of that sucker coming up in a little bit. If I pull it down, like it looks like hell. All right, they are digging in, and they're digging in hard inside that corridor. It's like a permanent freaking, like, it's big, what they're digging in down there. So, 140 somewhere inside of Gaza. Well, the reports are that they're running low on ammunition, and Hamas is currently trying to recruit new fighters, whether successful or not. Yeah, I'm sure they're hiding underground. There was an estimate that somewhere around, I think it was like 70% of the tunnels or something like that are still intact. Like the square mileage of it was freaking insane. Like, or not square mileage, but the mileage of tunnels that still remain intact inside Gaza are freaking insane. It's a lot. And so what you got to do is you got to start thinking about what they're going to be doing here moving forward. Because here moving forward is a brand new phase. All right. They've already established and said, look, we are not going back from here. We're open to negotiating with Hamas, but nothing beyond our terms. They're still going to return all of the hostages, whether they like it or not, 59 of them, alive or dead. They got to return those guys. Then Hamas needs to freaking disarm, and the leadership of Hamas needs to exfil, and a new government not associated with Hamas will be put in place. That's what they threw out. So knowing that, and knowing that we have to continue on with some of these evacuations and that we're going to have to rebuild this whole freaking like Gaza Strip, not everybody can live there. And if we go from clearing operations to then an occupation / build up / freaking, swap control of the government or whatever, to what? Are we back now? Good. Good. No, we're back. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down. What really needs to happen, all right? Beep, back up. He's back. Yep. Frickin'. All right, so hopefully everybody's got me back up over here. Good. All right, so what actually needs to happen when it comes down to the Gaza Strip and what we need to do over inside of there is they need to move slowly and methodically, clearing it step by step, okay? It's going to take some time in order to make it happen. They're going to get through there. 20 seconds of black hole figures. Why wouldn't there be? So step by step, they're going to go through and they're going to clear it. And they got to move slow and they got to move methodical all the way through it. They have to. And so when Israel makes this decision to go in, they can go in hard and they can go in fast. But you got to understand that if they push, likely what you're going to see is like a big push and a slow clear behind it, and a big push and a slow clear behind it, and a big push and a slow clear behind it. It's got to be that actual systematic clearance because they need to get all of their people back. So they can't just like clear tunnels and all this shit while they're busy and fighting. So they're going to have to push through and clear and push through and clear and push through and clear. It's going to take a lot of time. They're also staged up over inside of Khan Yunis right now. So if they're staged to go inside of Khan Yunis and they're staged to go outside of Rafah, I would assume that they're going to do all of this, generally speaking, right around the same period of time. Right? Because you have all of these freaking things over there. Now, what Defense Minister Katz said was the different things that they have to consider for their war plan. Moving the population, capturing territory, continued humanitarian blockade, and all of those things right now in order to bring the pressure upon Hamas in order to release the hostages. So that's what they'll be doing, just putting pressure upon pressure upon pressure on them in order to get them released. He says, I hope this pressure alongside the powerful IDF activities will work and we will return to the path of releasing the hostages. Now, all of that is great, but they're also going to have to work on releasing some of these freaking civilians that are in there at some point in time. They're going to have to slowly start evacuating them out like we talked. And I did hear that some of those evacuations are already taking place. That is my understanding, that slowly they are moving some of these like Gazans out of there and getting them the hell out. Okay. But you're talking about a massive chunk of the population that needs to go. And you're talking about a massive chunk of that population that all need to get screened to make sure they're not Hamas fighters. And they've got to clear every freaking street and every building. They've got to do it. Moxie says, I'm breaking up on every sentence. You guys, am I 5x over there, or how you guys read me? I think I'm doing okay right now. If I'm not, for the love of God, please let me know. I would really be greatly concerned if I was not. Let me find the appropriate tab here that I wanted to get into. Trump's tariffs. So yeah, obviously they ended up like talking a bunch of crap over inside of China. They decided to raise theirs, so we decided to raise ours again, all the way up to 125. And because of that, in addition, not only did we like raise the tariffs against China to 125% after they retaliatory struck against us, like a couple hours after went into effect. Because of that, Trump also came out and like paused, basically ended up like giving a pause on every other country, dropping theirs all the way down to like 10%, and said, now we'll negotiate with those guys. What that did was that caused the Dow, the S&P, all of this shit to like skyrocket. It was like one of the biggest gains in the market in a really, really long period of time. It soared.
Tariff on China. The tariff on China will now go up to 125% because China imprudently decided to retaliate against the United States. And as I said at the podium yesterday, when you punch at the United States of America, President Trump is going to punch back harder. In that same vein, we have had more than 75 countries from around the world reach out to President Trump and his team here at the White House to negotiate better trade deals for the American worker. We have been overwhelmed with the amount of requests from countries around the world. I'll let the Secretary speak to that. We will continue with the tailor-made negotiations that I spoke about yesterday. In the meantime, there will be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs as these negotiations are ongoing, and the tariff level will be brought down to a universal 10% tariff.
That's right.
The Secretary here has been a huge part of the President's trade team, of course, and will continue to lead these negotiations moving forward to look out for the American worker, which is always President Trump's goal. So I'll kick it over to our great Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent.
Good, thank you. And we saw the successful negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago today. It has brought more than 75 countries forward to negotiate. It took great courage for him to stay the course until this moment. And what we have ended up with here, as I told everyone a week ago, they're in this very spot, do not retaliate and you will be rewarded. So every country in the world who wants to come and negotiate, we are willing to hear you. We're going to go down to a 10% baseline tariff.
Okay, so all that's fine and dandy. Long story short, what we ended up doing was we ended up doing the good old bait and switch. That's not a joke when I say that. Another little statement that he ended up making here a little bit later on. Oh, what did I do with it? Where'd it go? Come on, I know I got that sucker. Where is that statement that I want? He ended up making a statement that basically freaking, like, I don't want to say it would have embarrassed China, but it's like kind of funny. Listen to this.
This was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
That man literally just said he goaded China into it, and that was his message the entire time. And I really hope, I want that to be true. I really hope it's true. If that's like what they predict and that's what they were looking at, that's a really good thing. Like, truthfully, the way that went about, like that is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. For those of you guys that might have missed it, and honestly, that's about all I really care to touch up as far as like the tariffs in China and everything goes, because everything right now is going to be subject to change, and everything is changing over time. Like I said, he is playing chess and not checkers. 4D chess. You are correct, Jonathan Rodriguez. Thank you very much. He is playing chess, not checkers. And a lot of people are looking at him like he's playing checkers, and a lot of people are throwing things out there. Now, the same thing is going to go in the Middle East. The same thing is going to go with Iran, and the same thing is going to go with Russia. All right, we are not doing things stupid anymore. We are playing like we're playing for keeps, ladies and gentlemen. We are playing for keeps. So don't doubt that for 1 second. Not one tiny second. Don't even freaking bother doubting it. That's exactly what we're doing. All right. Now, oh, man. I don't even remember what this. No, I can't. I can't deal with more tariff stuff. Now, Kevin O'Leary ended up playing this clip this morning. I think he's absolutely right. And Trump kind of went along with what Kevin O'Leary was saying. I kind of like him. Somebody called me, I king you, Matt. Banana, I king you, Matt. Linda, I don't know what that means. You crown me the banana king. Linda, is that what you're doing? Mick Ranger says you are fine. 3D underwear chest upside down. I don't know why this is, bro. At this time, I think Trump is playing interdimensional chess while the rest of the world is stuck on hungry hippos. That's more like it. I think that's an accurate statement for how he's been handling everything. But Kevin O'Leary had this to say, and as a matter of fact, we kind of did what Kevin said, only we just did it in a much smaller, much smaller scale.
104% tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration
400% tariffs. What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second, Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people...
Nope.
The average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe. Can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
Short-lived. There will be.
But what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
Oh, God, that was the best line of the whole thing. Kraken says he didn't get any notifications. He's checking once a day, so that's good. But, hey, listen, if you guys aren't getting notifications, I have been getting a lot of people that tell me that YouTube has unsubbed them from the channel against their will. So if you are not getting notifications, make sure you check to make sure that you're still subbed. If you're over here, you watch them for the first time, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel as well. Blue Dragon says, what the hell is it? Xi Jinping is reading The Art of the Deal. Yeah, I think that rhymes. I think he is trying to read The Art of the Deal right now. Bear Wilkie says, good job. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Bear. Greatly appreciate you. And I do want you guys to know that I listened to your comments. Somebody, I forget who it was. Let me go check and see if he actually did it. Because I forget the dang dude's name. I don't even know him. And I went over and I watched him and I was like, yeah, maybe I like him. Maybe I don't. But I did end up sending him a message earlier today. What's his dang name? Myron Gaines. Yeah, I didn't even know that guy followed me. If you guys know Myron Gaines, I don't know him, but I guess he made a comment on one of my posts he didn't like. And so one of you guys had commented this morning, one of the true supporters had commented this morning, asked if I would agree to debate him on either Israel or Ukraine. I said, yeah, of course I will. And I'm waiting on a response. So we'll see what ends up happening. So I shot him out one. We'll see if he comes back and responds, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Myron is from Fresh and Fit. Yeah, I discovered that because I went over and I looked into him. He does a lot of yelling and everything else. I watched him speak over at a college. As a matter of fact, I'll bring it up over here. And so this is, if he agrees to it, this is like one of the things I ended up saying that I was like, dude, whatever, man. Like, really, we're going to debate this? Like, okay. Because if this is like the freaking extent of his, and we'll watch it right over here. He ended up sharing it today saying like, we were right. Here it is. And this is him. And I guess the troubling part is this is like him speaking to college students. And this is like no trash on him, right? It just goes, if you're going to say we were right, Israel, what was the caption? We were right. We were right. The Israelis were absolutely involved in killing JFK. Okay, well, let's hear what evidence he found in the JFK files for the Israelis killing JFK.
While we're at it, what's your quick take on the JFK files that's come out?
We were fucking right. That's what I got to say, man. We were fucking right.
Why?
The Israelis were absolutely involved in killing John F. Kennedy.
How do you know that?
If you had talked about this.
How do you know that?
See, now I'm excited. Now I'm excited. Bro, if you talked about JFK and you said Israel was involved, they would consider fringe conspiracy theorists. They would want to silence you. They'd say, get this guy out of here. Because the files and they unredacted a bunch of the stuff we know for a fact what we've been talking about forever. And the long short of it is this, because I know a lot of you guys might be saying, JFK, what is this guy talking about? Long story short is this. John F. Kennedy found out that Israel had a nuclear program that they were working on. He didn't want them to have nuclear weapons for obvious reasons, because now we have the destabilization in the Middle East that we have now, thanks to the Israelis getting this nuclear technology.
That's not why the Middle East got destabilized. So maybe he needs to go study history, but the Middle East didn't get destabilized because of that. Oh, Blue Dragon, I see you. She's currently probably looking over some divorce paperwork.
How'd they get it? They stole uranium, higher grade uranium, from the United States, out of Pennsylvania. This is a great state of Pennsylvania, by the way. From the Apollo facility, and they illegally smuggled it over there, and they used it to create their nuclear program that they have now. And JFK worked really hard to try to get them to stop, and basically Israel lied to them. They made a fake control panel room, had the inspectors come in. JFK figured out it was a lie. And then we find out that James Jesus Angleton, who was a high-ranking CIA officer back then, basically helped Israel procure their nuclear program that they currently have now after JFK was killed in the 1960s. And he talked about this in closed Senate hearings back in the 70s that were classified. And finally, now we got access to those hearings of what he said in there, where he basically admitted that he helped Israel procure their nuclear program.
Okay, so Israel got...
And have these files that are unredacted that show that Israeli intelligence was involved in a lot of these situations, and they had been redacted there for decades and said...
Okay, so the files end up showing because the president of the United States got assassinated. And so including in their investigation, they were looking into everybody to include the Israelis. And yes, they ended up finding out and disclosing in this one, which, by the way, I know this is going to blow his freaking mind. Like I told you guys, every country spies on each other. And every country does jacked up stuff. If you don't think the United States has done crooked stuff to Israel like he's just describing, you are dead wrong. So the Israelis developing a nuclear weapons program or stealing portions of our nuclear weapons program to develop their own is still not a reason for Israel to kill them. And he still hasn't provided one shred of evidence that was released inside the JFK files to make a connection between Israel and the killer.
Even when you look at the document on the side, it says like CIA is okay with declassification except for brackets. All of the brackets were basically Israeli intelligence, and that's what we got a chance to look at with these 80,000 documents. So the conspiracy theorists were proven right.
No. They just know that there's intelligence on Israel included within the JFK files. There was nothing in the JFK files as far as I saw. Maybe he can educate me on something where it said, you know, Israeli intelligence officers met up with frickin' like shithead that had a rifle that was staged over on the grassy knoll. I didn't see any of that. And there's no direct evidence in there whatsoever that points to it. The fact that we had information on that doesn't matter. We had information in the JFK files on all sorts of other crap. It wasn't, like he said, 80,000 pages of garbage. 80,000. Just because Israel is mentioned in there doesn't mean that Israel is responsible for it. That's what you call confirmation bias. And you still have yet to provide one shred of freaking evidence that points to Israel doing it.
Now, I want to say one thing, and then we'll go to the next person, because I do think that this is important. Look, some people say it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence, but I find it interesting that the most famous movie that depicts the JFK assassination is a movie by Oliver Stone, 1991, called JFK. Good movie.
Oh, okay. So a movie now. We're not even going to go over the JFK files. Now we're going to talk about a movie. Because all the JFK files mentioned was Israel's nuclear weapons program. That's it.
And in the movie, it documents the pursuit of the JFK assassination from a prosecutor out of New Orleans called Garrison, Jim Garrison, if I'm not mistaken. And the interesting thing is, if you watch the movie, entertaining movie, they talk about the mafia angle, they talk about the CIA angle, they talk about inside job, etc. But one thing that's interesting is that the Zionist angle and the Israeli intelligence angle is completely left out. Well, if you research the movie and you find out who funded the movie, who funded it?
MSC with his freaking comment. Trump, I know what the hell I'm doing. Also Trump, I've been bankrupt 4 times in my business, 11 times. Shake my head.
Guy named Arnon. Feel free to Google it on your phones right now. Check the early life. I think what we're going to see there. But yeah, definitely a big one. Jewish Zionist billionaire running around Hollywood, right? He was the one that funded the JFK movie, as many other Hollywood movies. Now, why is this important? The reason why this is important is because the guy went on Israeli television and admitted that he was a spy. But not only was he a spy, he was a spy for their unacknowledged nuclear program.
No way.
So let me get this straight. The president tried to stop Israel from getting nukes.
Correct.
Was assassinated. We now know that Israeli intelligence.
I'm sorry, I missed the part where like Kennedy was trying to stop them from acquiring nukes versus us discovering that they were stealing crap. I missed that entire part. And if he go back in history and overlook the time that all of this was happening, he would probably understand why it'd be kind of weird for Israel to be going after nukes at that time, because that would be really crazy for everything that was happening in the world, because Israel is literally surrounded by a bunch of crazy freaking Arabs that wanted to kill him. Of course Israel's going after nuclear weapons. No shit. I would too. Mark Demelin coming in. Kevin O'Leary is one badass Canadian. He gets today's Savage Award. Dude, I would actually tend to agree with that. I like Mr. Kevin O'Leary. Yeah. Sir, thanks a lot. Says Trump owns 250 businesses, so I'd argue for his record. Yeah, that's also.
Was involved. The guy that funded the movie that is the biggest blockbuster hit when it comes to JFK assassination that most Americans are familiar with was a spy for Israeli intelligence for their unacknowledged nuclear program that JFK tried to destroy. Crazy. Absolutely nuts. But then if you say this and you make this connection, they'll say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, I don't think it's a mistake that this guy funded the movie and made sure to keep the Zionist angle out of this movie, because I think if the American public knew that
no, you'd be wrong. So it is nothing more than the fact that we had intelligence that went in because we were inspecting every single angle. So yeah, that is literally him saying, I don't think it's a coincidence. Well, that's great. You not thinking it's a coincidence doesn't equal hard facts, and it doesn't allow you to come out and say, yeah, we were right, Israel did this. It doesn't, because the actual hard facts that are pointed out in the Kennedy files clearly point to Cuba and clearly point to Russia and the agenda behind both of them, along with the motive and the how all of that ended up getting done. So you can't just sit back and throw that out there and be like, oh my God, Israel was talked about in there, so it must have been the Zionists that took him out. That's what it was. It was the Zionists that wanted to do it. Nope, it sure as hell wasn't. Not even remotely close. And there's zero evidence within that file that I've ever heard of. This right here, I'm not sure what it is, but oh wait, no, that's what we just listened to. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I did. I challenged the guy. I said, if you want to debate, we can debate, right? So we'll see where it comes. If he wants to debate, great. If he doesn't want to debate, great. I don't really care. I've got better things to do with my life. Somebody just told me that Moscow ended up getting hit really hard just now. So I do want to go check and see if Moscow is getting leveled, because if Moscow is getting leveled, I absolutely want to hear about it. Let's see here. Yeah, so it looks like we got a bunch of drones from Ukraine that are going over and hammering Moscow. The hell is that thing? Oh, I don't even want to believe that's real. mean, it'd be looking like a helicopter. I don't know whether or not those are drones going over. Let's go see if I can find anything else that's going to be like associated with Moscow getting slammed and what's actually up there. Little helicopter drones are pretty cool. Oh, that's freaking rad. There we go. Drone air defense is going off. Elon 100 coming in, gifting out 20 Speak the Truth memberships. John Wilson, the only mistake is the one his mother made when she chose not to swallow his goopy self. That's funny. Sir, thanks a lot. Coming in at 2, he says, Moscow leveled. Happy birthday. Yeah, I don't know about Moscow being leveled, but it looks like they definitely had a massive drone wave that went over there, or at least that's what's currently being reported. Yeah, man, it would appear these helicopter drone things are legit. They're shooting at them for damn sure. It was a helicopter chasing drone. Yeah, it very well could have been. I like that concept. That actually sounds a lot better. Yeah, the fact that they have lights on them, I don't know how I feel about that. I could see the helicopters going after and chasing the drones. I can't really see employing freaking like loud ass freaking drones of that nature flying that low with freaking lights on. Like that doesn't really make sense. There is some of them that you can see that have like heat signatures and things like that at nighttime, or that might glow a little bit like in your nods because they're freaking like, you know, like hot, and they actually like do emit just a tiny bit of light and stuff like that. But as far as that goes, man, I don't know about that. I'm not seeing anything else as far as that goes other than some drones going off right now over there. Let me go and see what we have. I'm not seeing any freaking strikes. Oh, that's a freaking baller ass helicopter, or a baller ass drone. Check that one out. That's pretty cool. All right. Let's see here. I'm not really seeing any other freaking information right now as far as Moscow getting struck, so it might take a while for some of these videos to come out on what's going on over there. It would be kind of cool. Well, I don't know. I kind of want them to leave the Red Square alone, but I mean, I wouldn't be upset because they just have so much crap going on over there, but it would be pretty cool. Yeah, so they're just talking about like the UAVs being downed over inside of Moscow, not so much anything else. Let's check this one out. Yeah, there's probably a lot more footage of it actually being hit out here. I'm failing to see a lot of explosions, at least anything that I know is like new video stuff that I haven't seen before. You guys got to realize, man, the amount that I pour through this crap. Sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I throw up like old stuff on there. But, you know, I really want to make sure that what I'm putting up there is actually accurate and not older footage when it actually ends up coming out. So there's that. Mike Ranger says, Matt, please give us your take on the Shanghai Agreement. I don't think it's a major topic that no media has touched on to this point. It just so happens to be anti-NATO pact. Yeah. We'll go over that, man. It's a little bit late in the stream for me to go over the Shanghai Agreement, but yeah, I can absolutely do that. How's tomorrow evening sound? Mike, does tomorrow evening in the Shanghai Agreement sound pretty good with you? I think tomorrow evening would be great. I have had a really long day, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a lot of stuff that we ended up going over today, and we're going to have a hell of a lot more coming out tomorrow. Logan Jones coming in $4.99. He says, one of my good friends is in the Red Sea right now, so I appreciate the coverage. Thanks for all that you do. How's Rob doing? Dude, I got to call Rob and ask him how his face is, because he actually ended up getting freaking pepper sprayed and then tased all this week. So I actually really look forward to it. I got to call and see how his face is doing. Blue Dragon says, Matt, on the I would want to get nukes too. Yeah, no, 100%, dude. If I was Israel's back in the freaking 60s, dude, 100% I would want nukes. 100%. Because you had all the BS that was happening in like Fallen 48, and then you had the build up to the freaking like 67. So you had all that crap that was going over there, and that's a huge freaking pain in the butt. So yeah, I don't blame them for wanting to have nukes. I would want them too. As a matter of fact, the U.S. did want to have nukes back then. We actually developed them and got them, and we stole a bunch of Germans to make it happen. John Klein Stewart sending rounds a loss. Yeah. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow morning I'm going to be bright and early. There we go. Is war by Friday? No. So the peace agreement, just so everybody's tracking, is going to be on Saturday. Or the peace talks for Iran are going to be coming out on Saturday, right? Peace talks Iran, Saturday. Whether or not there's going to be peace is the question. And it very well could be ladies and gentlemen, no kidding, because Trump basically said it's got to happen soon if it's going to happen because we can't let him get a nuke. But at the same time, Trump also said it'll be over when we feel like, he said it's going to be over when we feel like the negotiations aren't going good. But he wants the negotiations to go good. So we'll see how that goes. I did see that one of the B-2s allegedly got used and was dropping bunker busters over outside of Sana'a over in Yemen. Other than that, I haven't really heard of any of them being used thus far. So it looks like we're really holding on to a lot of that crap for this upcoming Iranian strike. So we'll see how it goes. If it does go down, likely Saturday evening, maybe, or you wake up Saturday morning because they're going to be plus a couple of hours because all of it's going down over in Amman, Jordan. So there's really no telling when it's going to go down. But yeah, it's going down. Like, let's be honest, it's going down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take off for the evening. I need to go eat some food. I need to get some rest. I need to do lots of things. So peace, love, happiness. God bless.